Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's Marketing with a Book and Speech Q&A. So this is where we have an author come in, talk about their book project, and answer any question anybody has about how to plan a book, prepare a book, publish a book, promote a book. So any questions we're happy to handle. So today I have Dave Mastovich, author of No Bull. We have to put an exclamation point. So you can call it No BS Marketing if you want. You can call it No Bullshit Marketing if you'd like. And Dave, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Well, thanks everybody for having me today. The biggest premise of the book is that throughout my career talking to business leaders, regardless of industry, but particularly in healthcare, when I would ask them what's their advantage, and I would ask that to a leadership team of, say, a CEO and 4 or 5 C-suite people, if I would ask it separately, and I would either get a non-answer or a crappy answer, but definitely 5 to 7 different answers. So the first thing is that I saw that companies really struggle with defining what their advantage is, what's their unique differentiator. The second thing, and Henry talks a lot about this, is that companies really don't do a great job of drilling down into those right fit target markets. So my definition of marketing is clearly defining your right fit target markets, then finding out what they want and developing it, if you don't already have it, or tweaking it, so you can give it to them when and where they want it at a price they're willing to pay, and then tell them about it again and again. Now, the thing is, in marketing and even for non-marketers, that last piece, the tell them about it again and again, is what most people focus on and think of when they think of marketing. The problem becomes that that's also why most people that aren't in marketing are frustrated with marketing. When you talk to leaders, they say, oh, I'm wasting a lot of money with marketing. I don't know if my marketing's working. I don't know what she does down the hall. I don't know what he does. Oh, it's the black hole when we send something to marketing. And that's because they haven't used that definition. They haven't first clearly defined those right fit target markets and drilled them down through what we call the Pareto Principle Plus. And then they haven't gone out and find out what they want, think, like, know, etc., so that you can then tweak your product or develop it so you can give it to them when and where you want it at a price you're willing to pay. Then the telling them about it again and again can be fun. Now, particularly in healthcare, there's a second added layer of a challenge with marketing. You have your marketing that ties to branding, absolutely. And you have your marketing that ties to sales because there's instances where you have to sell. But in healthcare, the neglected piece is systematic referral source marketing. That's the neglected piece because you get your business a lot of times from providers who refer to you or social service agencies, case managers at a healthcare system, or even area agency on aging, whatever. So these referrals are what drive growth in healthcare. And there isn't a systematic approach to that across the board, across the country, regardless of size. So I had the opportunity to come to a company as I was doing turnarounds in healthcare and got recruited again and again. And I mentioned this in the chapter in the book about lessons learned from $1 billion healthcare system. Was I was brought to this system that was being built and was under $1 billion, and we grew to 10 billion in a little bit less than 3 years. And we applied all of these tactics that I talk about in the book, and we built what I call the referral maximizer. And it's a way to systematically do referral source marketing so that you look at your referral sources, who they are, who they should be, who they might be, and you go out and actually talk to them in a systematic way to get another provider to refer to your healthcare organization. So that goes beyond that first initial definition of marketing that I talked about, which that's the first area that's neglected, is people not defining marketing in a clear way, which frustrates them, their bosses, and anybody that buys marketing. And the second part is specific to healthcare, which is tied to systematic referral source marketing. And what that means for those not in healthcare is that if you have a physical therapy company, many people don't even realize that they can self-refer, that they can go to see this physical therapy company and get treated. They feel they have to go through their doctor. That doctor decides on who to send it to. And many times it's decided by the office manager because it's easiest. So a systematic referral source marketing program takes into account who are the referral sources that are right fit. Who have we had the most success with in the past? Who have we helped their patients really succeed and get healthy and back to their healthy life? And then talking to similar ones like that and going out in a systematic way and reaching, connecting, and engaging with referral sources. Here's what happens now. You have people that maybe are kind of clueless about that and not even sure why their referrals go up and down. But when they go down, somebody at that company gets on the phone and starts calling those top 2 or 3 referral sources to get that spike back up. And then it stays up for a little bit, then it goes down and go, oh, I better go call somebody. And then there's other people that don't even have their data collected. So there's 2 ends of that spectrum. When you're dealing with that big healthcare system, they have so much data and they think that that's the real idea, is to have all this data. But data isn't really information until somebody looks and puts insights to it. And so the big companies have all the data and aren't doing much with it because they don't have the insights around referral source marketing. The smaller companies have barely gathered the data because they think they have to be like the big company. So they don't even take a stab. They get inferiority complex and don't even think to do it, or they do it and don't do much with it. So then when volume dips, they do what I said. They come back and it's the crisis of the month and they hurry up and try to get more referrals. And it goes up a little bit and levels off, then goes down. They come back and try to do something again. For both the large company and the smaller company and everything in between, systematic referral source marketing can change the game. It can be the differentiator that brings more stability and growth to a healthcare organization of any size. So the book talks about all these through anecdotes and analogies, which are the big piece of storytelling. The science of storytelling is that we begin to formulate ideas about a story around each person. So you've already formulated this idea about me, this guy in a no bullshit shirt, and he says, no bullshit. What's he all about? And you're trying to formulate that story and you're formulating it. Maybe some of you already don't like my style. Some of you are trying to figure that out. And you look at the story and say, who's the center of that? And as Henry always says, there's that hero. And you have to figure out while we're processing that, what did that hero go through? What were their challenges? Who helped and how? What were their struggles? What were the lessons learned? What was the end result? Well, if that's how people are already processing stories, we want to do that with your systematic referral source marketing. We want to tell stories in that same manner so we can make an emotional impact and increase those referrals. That's basically the gist of the book. And each chapter is a story that ties to a hero that's often a client. And sometimes it's a client that threw something at me or threw me out of their store. Sometimes it's a client that was excited. Sometimes it's a client that said they didn't know what was going on. They said, hey, we thought you were no BS, but you're BS. And that's one of the best lessons in there from Cairo Joe. So that becomes a lesson that's in the book when he told us and my entire team that you're supposed to be no bullshit and this is bullshit. And we adapted and adjusted. And I tell that story in the book because I believe that can help others. So that's the essence of No Bullshit Marketing, 17 contrarian ways to increase referrals for healthcare services. And that's a little bit of my story. I don't know if that's 10 minutes, might have been shorter.
Well, I get to talk to you now a little too before we open it up. So give them the subtitle again.
17 contrarian ways to increase referrals for healthcare services.
Okay. So if you've worked with us, you know that's loaded with several things. One, that tells us that Dave has chosen the style of the what we call the 20 AHA essay approach. And he did 20, but 17, it's plus or minus 5, 17, contrarian ways. So these are interesting essays on this. Also, we say the information question. Does your book have new information, better information, more information, or different information? Dave is definitely different information. It's what impressed me is it was not the typical marketing book, and even by the provocative title, which wasn't provocative for provocative's sake. It's making a point about, for those of us who are in marketing, or what the other people are calling us. And they're calling us BS artists, and they're calling, like that game you play. Um, Dave, when I was in high school, I was dating this very nice Christian girl, and she was telling me about this game her family played. Um, and you you don't show your card, but you tell everybody what the card is when you put it down. And then if somebody thinks it's not true, they say, I doubt that. Well, I come from Dutch dairy farmers, and I said, oh, we play that game. It's called bullshit. So yeah, I'm familiar with the term. Um, the Another thing I liked about the book, and I'd like you to talk to it. We put a news release out today. I think I saw Dan Janelle. I should say Dan Janelle put the news release out for us today, and we like to get somewhere between 50 to 100 hits. Yours got 158 hits today. That tells us it's resonating.
Wow.
But I had to have Dan clear it with uh, the PR Newswire that they would actually allow us to have your book title go out there with the, with the
Yes.
asterisk, like with how the comic strips used to do profanity and a lot of, symbols and marks. So in your chapter on the referral sources, you actually had 6 different groups that you should be getting referrals from. And I found this works in the agency world, it works in the consulting world, it works in the speaking world. And I know your book is for the niche of healthcare service providers. Good job. 90% of your book is good for any services industry.
Yes.
So could
Yes.
you talk about those
Yes.
6?
Yes. And what led to this was not just healthcare, but I also saw the parallels between healthcare and education. And at one point in my career, I quickly did a pivot to see if all the stuff in healthcare would work in education, and did that at a university. And it did work. Education is about 10 years behind healthcare on the marketing side, and still is. So a lot of this stuff was because you had these different audiences. But then, as Henry said, when I started my company, Mass Solutions, we systematically gather insights, and that's part of our flywheel. And we constantly use insights to drive the creative art. So the behavioral science drives the creative art. And when we did the research on ourselves, every few years, we would do the same process on ourselves, but have a third party company that does research that we trust. And the reason we went with no bullshit marketing for us was, time and again, our clients were saying they're no bullshit. They do what they say. They promise something, they deliver. They deliver it on time. They deliver it on budget. They do what they say. And no bullshit, no bullshit. That was what said so often that we actually said, oh, we got to practice what we preach, eat our own dog food. So that's what led to us becoming no bullshit marketing. But those 6 target markets that Henry mentioned are, the obvious one is prospective customers or clients. All of us that do marketing have people that want to get more sales. They want to get prospective customers and clients, but current clients as well. But then current referral sources and prospective referral sources are the 3rd and 4th target audience. And then current employees and prospective employees. So those 6 target audiences each need to have their own marketing focus. And that's what Henry was alluding to.
So in our world, we have different categorizations of these, and we call them sectors. But one of our referral sectors, if somebody has given us a referral, we label them as an advocate. And now we believe it's not their job to remember us. It's our job to remind them that we exist. And they
Yes.
get little mailings from us, like baseball cards and baseball card season and football cards, but they also get seeds when it's time to plant a garden in the spring, and they get wipes for your glasses or your technology pieces and other little things. So just little gifts, tchotchke souvenirs, if you will,
Mhm.
and we send them in the mail. We're doing something with um, also people send us referrals now. We send them a cup of coffee, a Starbucks card, just to thank them, regardless of what happens to, the event. So it's not the reward program. We do have an affiliate program now in healthcare. Um, I is an affiliate program where people are getting money. Is that allowed? I know it's not allowed in law.
We don't really push for that as much as we push. So there's a couple things. There's referrals, and there's reviews, and then there's referrals. So what we're talking about is actual referrals in healthcare where someone refers a patient. So that's what makes it a little bit different here. But for
Yeah.
anything outside of healthcare, it is centers of influence. So we have a lot of professional services firms, wealth management firms as clients, and we help them with their centers of influence, which is different because that's a person that can send them a referral, but maybe that's not really their job. Whereas in healthcare, that healthcare provider has to send that referral somewhere. That's their job. They have a patient that needs help, or that case manager at a healthcare system, that's their job. So that's the differentiating factor for healthcare, is that it's a referral that way.
Yeah. And it's as you said, people don't really know um that they could self-refer to a physical therapist if that's who they really want. Um, you're just sort of in the system that, oh, you need a podiatrist? Here, go here.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay. Well, and Devin, I don't know if you're monitoring chat. Um, if any, I'd like to open up to questions from anybody for Devin, Henry, or Dave about books and marketing. Steve Brody. I think
let me
Vicky's next. Steve Brody and then Vicky.
yeah, let me take mute off. And so, Dave, I'm wondering across some of these different audience, you said of different clients, um, do you focus on certain platforms? Do you find certain platforms are more effective than others in terms of social media, or ones that deliver the most responses or leads?
It really depends on that target audience, because with healthcare, you're both B2B and B2C. With that comes using social on the B2C side, multiple social channels. On the B2B side, you might see LinkedIn a little bit more prevalent when you're doing B2B healthcare, on when you're trying to reach executives or people of that nature. When you're trying to reach physicians, it's really a challenge because physicians aren't as influenceable or reachable via social as maybe some other target audiences. So when it's the B2B side, it's a mix of all kinds of different social channels, and we tear it apart by right fit segmentation, all the way by age, geographic, psychographic. Because one of the things that we believe is that when you pick your segment, 3 variables is not enough. 4, 5, 6 variables or characteristics is what you really want to achieve. So when we start doing B2C, you'll see us get to 5 or 6 different variables or characteristics, which enables us to choose which platform. So the answer is a yes and no. There's different ones for B2C. B2B is a lot of direct outreach, and we've actually convinced physicians and their practices to use texting more for relationship building, and to use email drips, and also to use some social media, and even some direct meetings and face-to-face.
Vicky, did you have, thank you, Dave. Vicky, did you have a
Thanks.
question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Dave, thank you for everything you shared. I really appreciate it. And Henry, thanks for hosting it. I started out in education teaching memory training, a picture method of creative associations that stimulate the brain. And I found that it actually helped Alzheimer's and dementia patients be able to keep themselves from declining. When I went into assisted living places after I was no longer able to, through an adult school that actually got me in, they lost their funding. I've really been having a hard time doing any kind of marketing. I have a book that I already wrote called Love Remembers, about regaining my memory after a car accident, working with Alzheimer's and dementia. And when I call them and say, you know, I met you at your mixer or a networking event, and you said you were interested in having me come in, would you like to schedule a meeting? They all immediately say, what do you charge? Or they immediately say, well, we have to talk to so-and-so. And I said, well, may I talk to so-and-so directly? Or can I come in and do a mini lesson? And they all say we either don't have a budget or we don't have enough people, or if you give a free talk, you can't sell from the stage. So I feel like I'm sitting on something that's really needed and necessary. And a lot of people don't know that people can actually improve with an ill mind. But I basically just had to switch my target. And I'm sad because
So Vicky, is there a question in there?
yeah, what do I do? How do I go about getting the right person and getting a foot in?
So I have some ideas. What have you done to reach the health system case managers?
I have not. I don't know the case managers.
Okay, so one idea that I would have, and none of this is going to be easy because what we've done, I still say we, years ago when I was running the health system, we worked to shift to to reduce the amount of people that could come in and sell because of pharmaceutical reps and so forth. So there is a different philosophy from the health system side. However, if you go to the health system side, they're going to have people that are being told, hey, you probably need to find assisted living for your mom. And then that way, that if you get in front of them, that's getting in front of someone who can tell someone about you to them. The second thing I would say is when you go to these, there's two paths when you're going to the senior living communities, because we have a number of them. When you're going to the ones that only own one or two, that might seem bad, but you have actually more influence. They're less likely to say this has to go up the ladder. But again, they only have one or two. Then when you go to the ones that own 15 or 20, like we have one client that owns 20, if you were to get to their head of that programming, you are now, if you're able to show them you can do something for all 20, even though the locations are geographically sprawling, then you're appealing to them. And the thing that I would say is getting in front of them and showing them how you can help them with their closing the business. So I would shift even though it's altruistic, I would shift when you're talking to them to say like, this can help people to come into you for your memory care unit. Now you've got their eye because that's all they care about. It's not all that they care about, but that's primarily what that sales rep cares about. So that's an idea for you.
That's a good point. It's turning out that is what they care about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to go to Dan and then Courtney. But first, this commercial. Devin put in the chat Dave's book launch today. And I know you'd probably want to spend $100 or $50 on this book, but today it's 99 cents for this week. We're doing the 99-cent Kindle campaign, which we recommend to all authors. Get family and friends to buy the book and to give verified reviews. You don't have to give a 4-star review or a 5-star review, just an honest review. And every review you get on Amazon that they post helps an author. Because one way people judge us is by how many reviews does the book have? And that's something that just doesn't happen. You need to make it happen. So encourage you to do that. Dan, why don't you just give the short 1-sentence intro of who you are, and then that first question about how do you end a book with 17 chapters?
Sure. Hi, I'm Dan Janelle. I run a PR services company called PR Leads. We distribute and write press releases for authors and other companies. I also write books, and Henry and I are like great friends, and he is the key to my condo in case the fires spread from San Bernardino to San Diego County. Let me know. We'll have to turn the internet connection on. So
yeah, and it was scary yesterday. Vicky and I were driving back from LA, and we saw flames from our car, from the freeway. It was that close to us.
Wow. That's our route back to Minnesota. So here's my question. You've written a great book with 17 chapters, which I think is wonderful. How do you summarize it? How do you bring it all together in the last chapter? And also, do you have a call to action in that chapter, or how do you turn the book into a lead referral source for you?
I like that question a lot. The last chapter talks about where we're going.
Okay.
And so it focuses on a couple of areas. One has a 2-part, and it's called B to E. And business to employee marketing is a term that we've come up with and embraced at Mass Solutions because we found that people weren't really understanding what we were talking about when we said we could help with talent acquisition, retention, and results. They often didn't understand the third part. So it was the 3 R's: recruiting, retention, and results. And if you do B2E marketing, which is your cultural storytelling, and you infuse that in your recruiting messages, and you infuse that in your retention messages, and you infuse that just in your daily operations, your results will improve. Your productivity will go up because of improved communication and a better understanding of the core values, and the elimination of people that weren't core values fits. So I talk about where we're going with BT, business to employee marketing, with recruiting, retention, and results. And there's 2 parts of that are mentioned in the final chapter. But I also take the big elephant in the room and I talk about how do I see marketing being impacted by AI and how best to use that for the future. And so there's those major items, and then a couple of other things about systematic referral source marketing and storytelling that closes out that last chapter of the book to tell us how this all combines together and where we're going.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in on it too, just in general. I really like Platform by Michael Hyatt, who is a step-by-step guide. You know, it's about getting noticed in a noisy world. He's a New York Times bestselling author in the publishing industry. And then I've seen other people do this, like Michael Gerber and eMyth. But after the index, he has 3 ad pages, which are direct ads for services he offers. Other times we'll put in a resources page after the About the Author page, which is just really clear about the services that the company that the person has offers. And Devin will design those either a la Michael Hyatt's kind of format, or, you know, in another format. It's an opportunity. We try to keep the About the Author very journalistic, and we put in, you know, for speaking and bulk orders of the book. So we're planting those seeds in the About the Author page a lot, and how to reach the person. So those are all in there. You had a follow-up question. Do you add specific calls to actions in the work? And that's what I was talking about there, and how we do it. Yeah, in the last chapter in all our books, in my Warren Buffett book I wrote for McGraw-Hill with Tom Searcy, our last chapter was this. Let me get the right wording. After you make your first Warren Buffett deal. So it's a what's next and where you go from that. Tom and I didn't have anything specific we were selling with this book, though I can trace, I think, millions of dollars of business because I wrote this book. But authors, how you say it, books don't promote authors, authors promote books. It was because I leveraged it everywhere I could.
Yes.
You know, wherever 2 or more are gathered, I was happy to talk to them about this book.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Once at an event, I had the book on the table. Somebody came up and said, "Oh, I read that book." You know, not even realizing I'm the author. Just like, "Oh yeah, I read that book. It's pretty good." So yeah, it's not going to get us fame and fortune, but we do always want to, in a very professional way, put in next steps and calls to action. So I encourage you to check out Platform by Michael Hyatt. Courtney, I think, had a question. There you go. Hi, Courtney. Good to see you.
Hi, Dave. Nice to meet you. Thank you for a very relevant topic, and I've already downloaded the book, so maybe it's already in there. So I own a medical practice in obesity medicine, and we grew the practice tremendously based on referrals from clinicians, from physicians in the community, which was fabulous. But we've, in the past year, as I'm sure you've probably seen the world of Ozempic, have encountered a great deal of unethical marketing coming from other sources that's really overshadowing our current marketing of this is what we do and how we do it and the best practices. I mean, the med spa next door can market and say, you can lose 50 pounds in 50 days if you just pay us $500. And that marketing has really taken over our field. And so we're trying to come up with a marketing back to our referring clinicians of, you might have heard these things, but it's wrong. And so it's almost having to, instead of teach them what we taught them before of this is good practices, like how do you change their minds and get rid of their what they've been hearing for the past year from all the unethical marketing without telling them they're wrong. Like, physicians don't want to be told that they're doing something wrong,
Correct.
but they need to be told they're
Yeah.
doing something wrong, but gently. And I'm struggling with how to do that.
That's fair. And I like what you're doing, because one of the things that we stress to everybody is if something's out there, especially with the world we live in today, where information is out there so quickly, you have to address it. And for some older generations, that's tougher because you used to be able to almost avoid things. Now you can't. So you have to address it head on, and you have to admit your weaknesses, because
Mhm.
people already know what they are. So I coach anyone in sales to go out and admit your weaknesses and say, like, for instance, we come in and say, hey, if you're looking for some big ad agency is going to produce some award-winning commercial for you, great. We're not that for you. What we're a strategic marketing consultancy that's going to solve your problem for you, and we're going to do great creative, but we're not out to win awards. So we don't even apply for them. And at UPMC, we would have won every award in the world. We just didn't even apply for them. So the thing that I would suggest you do is, I don't know how much you've talked to referral sources, but if you could have a third party talk to referral sources, and you go and you do that outreach and you tell them, you send them an email and a letter, an actual traditional letter that'll make an impact. And you say, we believe so much in what you have to say that we have someone else coming out to talk to you. You ask a couple open-ended questions tied to this issue you're concerned about. You come back and now you can go to those doctors with actual quotes and data. It doesn't have to be quantitative, it can be qualitative. So it's not so much that you're going to say there's a 72% chance of this. You're going to come back and say, we talked to a lot of referral sources like you, and here's the 3 things we heard. Number 1, we heard that you think that Ozempic is the answer or whatever. Number 2, we heard this. Number 3, we heard that. So you now come back and have those 3 truthful things that you gleaned from that research, that you come back and then present where you are on those. And here's the beauty of it. And I say this right in the book. Let's say the first one is something to overcome that nonsense that they're hearing. Great. That was your main objective. Let's say the second one is something you're actually working on and pretty far along. Great. You get to tell them that. Let's say the third one is something you actually hadn't started working on yet. You now can be humble and vulnerable and say, hey, you also pointed out this. And that led us to immediately sit down as a leadership team and build a plan that over the next 6 months, we're going to change that. So now you tell every referral source these 3 things that they all told you. And 1 is the main issue you want to change. 2 is something you were already working on. 3 is actually something you weren't working on. It's even better if you weren't. Because if you come back and say, we're already doing everything you told us, it looks like bullshit. So now you come back. But the key is to start off systematically gathering insights by having a third party go out and talk to just a couple dozen of them. It's not going to be a plus or minus 3%. It's going to be qualitative insights that you come back and use in that way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Dave, when I was a social scientist at a university, we found we could gain more insights with 9 depth interviews like you're talking about than doing 9 focus groups with 10 people each.
Exactly it.
So even the power, if you can't get 3 dozen, 2 dozen, if you can't get 2 dozen, 1 dozen is going to be amazing. A lot better than wild guessing.
I jokingly tell a story. I've coached basketball and played basketball my whole life. And I say, I can come to a tryout and I have 1 drill that I'm done. I can leave. And I actually have left to let my assistants pick, because I can rank the players in this 1 drill. I could do it with 3 interviews, but I don't do that because then people sometimes get uncomfortable and think I'm just winging it. So I'm going to try to get 10 to 12 completed interviews. You give me 25 names, I'm going to get 10 to 12 completed interviews, and we're going to rock it with 10 to 12. Like you said, Henry, you can do it.
It's and that research didn't come from me. It came, I believe, out of the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
And they've got a good football team too. Okay.
Well, not so much Saturday.
Any other questions from the floor here? That was a very good discussion today. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank Dave for sharing and leading the discussion here. So we do these monthly. This is to be a community of authors. I was remiss at the start, and we could just do it now. If you just want to go on to the chat and just, if you care to share your name and contact information with the other authors that are here, that would be appreciated. And we really want this to be authors and experts helping authors and experts. That's what we're all about. To give you a chance to do that, I'll just give one more commercial. So we have our annual, well, I'll make an announcement. This year, it's been an annual thing that we've done. This is our 10th anniversary. And during the pandemic, we had to go virtual, but we've had our forums. Now we're going to have an agency Rainmaker forum September 27th and 28th. We're going to be announcing a partnership with the University of California, San Diego, and they are going to host our forums at their brand new multi-million-dollar facility on campus. And yeah, which is right between a Sheraton and a Residence Inn. And we get university rates to stay at that. So we'll be telling you more about those events. And they're really geared to get authors and experts together. And we do videos from it. We post that. Authors and experts helping authors and experts. That's what we're about. And it's part of our brand. Our brand is generosity. So if you're interested in attending one of those, please let us know. And we can, it's going to be invitation only. We're not going to advertise it far and wide. So if you'd like an invitation, please tell me and we can get that to you. So with that, without hearing any more questions from the floor, I'm going to give everybody the rest of their day back. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Devin.
Thank you all.
Next month, our next one is going to be October 1st. We try to do these the first Tuesday of the month, unless there's a holiday. So then we go to the second Tuesday. So Devin, do we have a topic for that one yet?
I don't think we have.
We haven't
yet.
selected a topic. Well, we're going to do that real soon. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.